Today, the top secret project I've been hired for has finally been revealed to me, and I feel like I've woken into a damned nightmare. Disney Discoveries. Now, there's a lot of suits, and it's all very professional, but my gut makes it feel like I've been hired to work a carousel in clown makeup. In other news, the big man himself talked to me face to face. That at least made me feel pretty important. But Walt was not quite what I expected from the outset. I expected a man who ran such a big entertainment business to be more, I don't know, bombastic. He was pretty quiet for a man that has a statue made of himself in a theme park named after him. But I guess being at the top spares you from the worries of small talk when every idea you've ever had from pen to paper has come to life. What'll make this any different? I have a weekend until I'm supposed to start with, apparently, more than a handful of people under me to assist. Walt was pretty vague about what Disney Discoveries is supposed to do other than the one thing. He wants to find other dimensions. Schrodinger. As ambitious as it sounds, he apparently has resources that can get us a jump start, whatever that means. I'll return with another log in the evening, per usual. Average day at the office. Work on the gateway has run surprisingly smoothly. At the pace we're at, as long as the portal starts up on test day, this is a wild success. Turns out more pay does turn up some eager heads to think together. Only a year's salary and researcher Ted's bragging about weekly vacation and 3-story houses. Oddly, though, there's no roadmap for the rest of... Well, no, there's no roadmap for anything right now other than this. We haven't been given too much direction other than to work on this gate, so all of our manpower has been going into this for the past, since we started last year. Walt came down again today, other than the usual banter and checkups from the office. Didn't see him as someone who'd care to peek behind the curtain, but hell, I admire it. If he's the one letting me have steak dinner 3 times a week, then I'll let anything happen. He just said he wanted to check in on his nephews. Big family man. Surprised he can dote on his folks as much as he does with such a busy work life. Today was the big day. I'm going to remain optimistic and say this is a tentative success. Have you ever looked into the void with the naked eye? The blackness, the deep absence of color or hell, anything behind that rift was spine-chilling. I'm not sure what else we expected in the first place we reached, but absolutely nothing is something I'd only assume if the gate didn't work at all. But I'd argue that we have discovered true absence. The gate is still open. We're afraid to turn the thing off because turning it on might have nearly blown out the power grid. Leaving it on seems to be harmless at the moment because our ability to scan the contents of this place reads, as expected, nothing of note. Researcher Hubie commented, likely in jest, on how he thinks we found hell. That stuck with me, because personally, I'd prefer the fire and brimstone. Called Walt about the success. He told me he'd come check it out on the weekend and asked me about whatever we found on the other side of the gate. I told him that we found a space without stars, a night sky with no moon, a black void of nothing. After hearing that, Walt came by as soon as he could, which is odd. He's not the type to just drop everything and move. Needless to say, I let the group who's been victoriously twiddling their fingers know to sit up straight, because the big guy's coming. When he got here, he nearly ran over researcher Ted coming downstairs to see the damn thing. Looked like a kid watching his first movie. He seemed more excited with what we found than I anticipated. When I heard Disney was spearheading a dimensional travel project, is it wrong to have expected the company to want to find something more vibrant? We've been asked by Walt directly to ensure the inside is safe. How exactly, I'm not sure, but I'm no quitter. We started testing it by tossing a penny or two in. They fell, confirming a gravitational pull similar to ours, but as we watched it fall, it did not make a noise as it reached past our sightlines. This thing is either a really, really big trench, and we're near the top, or it just has no bottom. The next test was something a lot heavier, something that would make a lot of noise if it hit the ground. It, too, did not make an appearance, audibly or visually. As far as we knew, this was an oversized waste bin. Then, researcher Austin had an idea. Leave a bird or two in there to flutter around and see if they're there, still breathing after blocking the portal entrance off. The ability to breathe is at least a facsimile of confirmation that the rift is breathable, and maybe we can justify other living subjects giving it a try. After a few flukes, a set of hummingbirds were left alive, and well after prolonged exposure to the rift. After this was proven, we had researcher Hubie go in the damned place with a harness, 12 hooks, everything as excessive as it was. And yes, he could breathe. Hubie was shaken by the stress of it all. But with the occurrence, a couple other researchers volunteered, and they reported similarly. While this is all very nice, I'm still wondering about the practicality of what we found. Could this be just the world's most expensive trash can? There's nothing but impractical space in there that swallows whatever you put into it unless it can propel itself. My hand's being shaken a lot more than usual as a result of the whole discovery, though, so it's safe that I keep these thoughts to these audio journals. Someone left researcher Ted on the harness.
What's going on in here?
Now's not the best time to explain, but I'm going
No. Come on
use
now.
this time to digest the
Open out
situation.
already. Was it my fault?
Apparently,
No.
researcher Ted claims to have been in there for no less than an eternity.
Fuck.
He hasn't visibly aged, and he didn't look too different from last evening. But when he started pulling punches, I did my best to get out of there before I got hurt. Shit. It's taken the research team a bit of time to digest Ted being gone. Corporate didn't like the idea of someone willing to hurt other researchers, so they got him. I've never seen the light fade from someone else's eyes before. Not in such a personal situation. What scared me most is the way he was staring before security took care of him. The way he looked. It was like he was dripping. His pupils were dilated like he hadn't seen sunlight in years, which might have been true. And have they told his family? The rift has a blanket covering it now. It's like a coat rack now instead of a disposal bin. No one wants to look at it. Right now, the team is working with Imagineers more closely, at their own pace. Disney is oddly understanding of the grief, especially since they caused it to happen in the first place. I think either all of us aren't willing to give up the 3 steak dinners a week, or we probably can't give them up in the first place. I had met with Walt for the first time since after the incident. He seemed a lot more chippier than I had expected. I thought I had to answer for someone's life being snuffed out, but no. He just wanted to see the thing itself, like it was a toy. I insisted against it. I did not want someone who's done so much more than I or anyone could ever achieve to fall in there to a grisly fate like Ted, but he shouted back. He hadn't raised his voice before ever since I had met him formally, so I assumed he meant with his whole chest that he wanted to see it. So I took him over. I took him, and he had a long look. No, really, he just stood there, almost wistfully. He asked me a lot of weird questions. I remember one of them. He turned to me with his old eyes and said to me, earnestly, "If you could sit alone in your own thoughts forever, could the human mind come up with everything there is to think of?" I responded along the lines of, "Yeah, I suppose so. Infinite time means infinite thought, right?" Then he turned back to the gate and nodded. We had a really good conversation. He was there a lot longer than he probably planned, because one look at his watch, and he was bolting. People can learn a lot from Walt Disney, I think, like Disney itself. Someone broke into the lab last night. The only person who could have gotten in is someone of high clearance. I've been questioned. I have an alibi. It was one of those few times I had marked myself off for the night with my spouse. But even worse news, people can't find Walt. I feel like I should tell someone, but I'd look like a loon for saying it. As of today, Walt Disney has been declared dead, officially. Seeing the world in mourning for something I had accepted months ago is troubling, especially knowing even my own wife had found out about it when everyone else had. I'm bad at acting out the emotions, so I just left home early and got back to work. They sent rescue squads after him. People who weren't told about the time dilation thing. Yeah, I wasn't the one to okay that. The only reason I mention it today is because one of the teams found something in there. A bottom. A slimy, inky substance making a flat surface for the entire expanse. Occasional spikes and pyramids. It's like a jet-black desert. They had even thought about getting a sample of the stuff, thank Christ they remembered. I jumped at the opportunity to get it chemically observed. It's actually pretty incredible what it's pretty close to. Gray matter. Like the brain tissue. That stuff's hard to come by, and now we can say it grows on trees. It's not exactly the same stuff, but it's similar enough where we can probably get a study going on practical uses for the stuff. Personally, I'm really excited for the future of Disney Discoveries. It's really hard to be excited when everyone's openly in mourning, which is why I share my frustrations today. I'd say more, but I'm going to stop the journal early to let my own thoughts sit for a while, so I can let them come out more comprehensible. Let my figments become more solid, I suppose.